Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So in this tutorial we're going to continue with our C++ series. So in this tutorial we're going to look at nested for loops in C++. So let's just show you what we're going to be looking at. So I'll just run this program I already created. This is what we'll be going over in the next two tutorials. So let me make this bigger. So you can see we're going to be printing patterns in C++. So we're going to be printing this side kind of a side inverted pyramid, and then the next tutorial we're going to look at how to print a pyramid, sorry, a diamond shape like this. I don't know if it's actually a diamond shape, but I think we're going to be printing this pattern in C++ anyway. So this is what we're going to be doing by using the help of nested for loops. Okay, so let's just look a bit into the theory of what a nested for loop is. So a nested loop, okay, let's start with nested loops. So nested loops, it is basically what it sounds like, having a loop instead of another loop. So you could have a while loop instead of a while loop, and a for loop instead of a for loop, a while loop instead of a for loop instead of a while loop, and so on. So let's look at we are just going to today's tutorial. We're just going to be looking at nested for loops. Okay, so if you are able to understand nested for loops and you've understood the last two previous tutorials, then you should be able to deal with the other for loops that there are. So this is the most commonly for loops that I see, actually the nested for loops. So that's what we'll be going over. So let's get started. So I have created a simple file here. I just include the iOS stream namespace and then the main function. So let's get started. So let me just create a simple for loop for you so that you can see what I actually mean by nested for loop. So like this, when I equals 0, if I is less than 4, we can then say I plus plus, and then down here you can have another for loop. So you can say int j, okay, equals to 0, while j sorry, my bad, while j is less than I, and then we can j plus plus, and then down here you can just output something. So see out, we can say nested for loop. Okay, nested for loop, and then we can just output the value of j, just like that, and then we can want to end that line. So end line, yeah. So out here I want to print out a C out, so we can know that we are within the main loop. So it is say main loop. Okay, so then I'll print the value of I, so we can show that we're in the main loop. So I'll print I here, and then I also want to end that line. Okay, so I'll save this and then I'll try to run it, and then we see what we get. So I'll just run this code and then we can see what we get. So let's bring my terminal here, and then I'll try to make this big. So you can see we have the first for loop, and then I'll just keep a line here so that after every row we can have a new line. So I'll just do that, and then I'll close this terminal and then run my compile and run the code again. So I'll just bring my terminal over here, and then I'll make this big so you guys can see. So you see, during the first iteration, the main loop iteration is 0. So we have we didn't have any nested statement, because obviously 0 is equals to 0, but 0 is not less than 0. So here we didn't. That's why we didn't get that, because I is 0 and j was 0, so we didn't get any output. But in the second iteration, j was 0, I was 1, so we got to one output. And then you can, if you understand the previous tutorials, you can be able to know why we get this output. So what the main point to take from here is that for every iteration within the main for loop, which is the outside for loop, we'll completely iterate through the nested for loop all the number of times. So well, you can see here we iterated twice, here we iterated thrice, because of the value of I changing. Okay, so that's all about nested for loops in C++. So let's go ahead and actually see how we can use that concept to print the pattern in our program. So we'll create a nested for loop. The outer for loop is going to take care of the rows, right? So it will be moving us from one line to another line. So that's what the outer for loop is all about. While I is less than row, so I'll create a variable row here. So I'll just give it a value. So int row equals to, let's say this 5. Let's make it 6. Okay, and then while then I plus plus. Okay, while I is less than row, I plus plus. Then we create a nested for loop, which will just be j. Okay, one thing I must say, that you must not use the same name, right? So if you the same identifier name, so if you do that, you get an error because you have declared I within this scope and I exists within this scope, so you can use it twice, use it for a variable twice. Okay, so and then j will be equals to set1 while j is less than I, and then we can do j plus plus, and then we'll do cout, and then we'll do j and then cout and then space, and then we want to end that line. So down here I also want to print a new line after each row, so the end line just like that. Okay, so I'll save this and then I will run this program one more time, so then we can see what output we get. So I got an error, so then I missed a semicolon somewhere, so down up here I missed a semicolon, so I will just run that code again. So this should work, hopefully. Yeah, it did, but we didn't get the desired output we wanted. So we didn't get the output we wanted. The reason why we got this output, I'll just bring it here and show you. The reason why we got this output is that I made an error and I kept an end line after here instead of just a space. Okay, so I don't want an end line here, so I'll just go ahead and actually remove that. So I'll just run this code one more time. So I'll compile and run the code, and hopefully this time we should get our pyramid, and yes we did. So I'll just make this big and you can see we have our pyramid there. We have 1 and then 1 2 and then 1 2 3 and then stuff like that. So you already get the point, right? So this is what our program is all about. So for each this the main function of the outer for loop is to move us to each row. So this is the rows, right? The rows, and then these are the columns. Okay, so the outer for loop takes care of the rows, moving us to the rows, and decides how many elements are within each row. Okay, by using the I value over here. So this setting j to 1 means that we want to start from 1, so our base values will start from 1, and then how many elements is decided by the size of I, which also depends on the row. So if the row is 2, then we'll print 2. If the row is 3, we print 3. If the row is 4, then we'll print 4 items. So I hope you understand. So now that you have printed the outer for loop, the top part of the loop, now let's go ahead and actually print the bottom part of our side inverted pyramid. So I'll go ahead and actually create here an int. I'll call this I. So here I can use I because I'm out of this scope, right? So I doesn't exist, so I can use I inside of this scope. So say I will set I equals to the row minus 1. So I is row minus 1. So say I is less or equals to 1, and then we'll do I minus minus. So you can also do I minus minus this way, or you can do I minus minus this way. It doesn't have an effect within a for loop. We have discussed that in the previous tutorial, so if you didn't watch that, you can go back and check that. So I put a variable j, int j is equals to 1 because we want the baseline to be 1, while j is less than or equals to 1. This is less than or equals to I, and then want to increment the value of j, so j plus plus. Okay, and then here I want to do a cout. You just want to print j, and then we want to print an empty string, and then we want to do a new line after each row, so end line. Okay, this is end line. So I'll go ahead and actually save this. So this top for loop will print for us the top part of our pyramid, side inverted pyramid, and then this will print the bottom part of that. I think it's actually an arrow. Let's call it an arrow rather than a pyramid. We'll print pyramid within the next tutorial. Okay, so let's call this one an arrow, side arrow. Okay, so this will print the top part of our arrow, and then this will print the bottom part of our arrow. So I'll just go ahead and actually run this. Okay, if I didn't make any errors, everything should work fine, and everything really did work fine. So you can see we have that arrow pointing towards the right. Okay, so this is how we can work with work with for loops in C++, and you can be able to print different patterns and stuff on the screen. So this is all about I want to talk to you about in this tutorial. If you have any concept or any problem relating to printing this pattern, please let me know. In the next tutorial I'll also go over where we'll go over and print. Let me just show you. We're going to print we're going to learn how to print a pyramid, and then you're going to print the shape at the end of the time. So thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. See you in the next tutorial.